You've been cruising around Loveville and filling your car to the brim with babes and bros and non-binary hoes.
Hello and welcome to the final video of Date Everything. You know, if you're like, okay, well, what are we doing here? We already finished the game. The gameplay's done. What is this all about? The short summary of that is, so, which one? You know, following in the footsteps of the great dating games we've done before this and streamed before this, if you think back to Donkey Donkey Literature Club, I was asked so many times, both on the stream and just from friends when I told them I was actually streaming it. People would be like, so who's your favorite girl? You know, which one is the best one? You know, who best girl? So I had to make a whole video doing analysis on all that, right? And if you think even before that, with DBD's Hooked on You, actually, no, I'm a liar, now that I think about it. We did do a bonus video with that, but that wasn't character analysis. That was just, like, bonus ending things. I was showing you all the special endings. So let's quickly do that so that I'm not a liar. If we're talking about me, the character in that game, the answer would be Spirit, Wraith, Huntress, Trapper. And if we're talking about me, the player playing the game, Spirit, Huntress, Wraith, Trapper, to switch the two middle ones. So, there. Now that I'm not a liar and we have analyzed things in the dating games before, even though one of the analysis was like 2 seconds ago and it lasted 2 seconds, it's time to analyze these characters. Now, of course, you're literally saying which one. I mean, you kind of have to go, well, I have to go with Sam, right? Because, like, everyone else is sort of, like, making their own life now, and I made them into real people, and they're off doing their own thing, whereas, like, Sam is a real person already, who, like, knows about life and doesn't need to explore it. She already knows what she wants. But that's, you know, kind of a boring analysis, right? Being just, it's like, the one person who's actually a person and not an object. So, now that the music's back, the way I'm doing this is, you know, first of all, I'm only looking at the actual datables themselves. And so there's 102, right, with the DLC, and I can't just pick one, right? There's 102 to choose from, so much good writing and blah, 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 we'll get into all that. So you're like, okay, well, like, how about a top 10? Yes, that would make sense, except, and the reason why I actually did that little thing about the Hooked on You one, I didn't actually forget that I didn't make a video. Me, the person playing the game, and me, the character in the game, are different people, right? And it would be a biased list if I just did a straight up top 10, because me, the person, is interested in women. Me, the character, is fine, like, dating and sleeping with everybody, which makes for a more interesting analysis. So, to that end, I'm doing what I call the 5-5-2, which is to say, I'm going to look at my top 5 in no particular order of the feminine characters, the top 5 masculine characters, and then the 2 non-binary characters. And if you're thinking, like, that's weird, why not just do 5-5-5? Well, let me tell you a little thing when I was discovering this. In the game, there are 43 characters that you would classify purely as feminine. They use she, her pronouns. There are 53 that you would classify as masculine, that only use he, him pronouns. For non-binary, the ones that only use they, them, there are 6 total. So really, doing 5 non-binaries just means let's list all 5 that aren't rebel, right? So yeah, and you know, it kind of makes sense because, like, oh, there's like 100 things, so like a top 10 out of 100, and then like 2 bonus characters with the DLC, so like another 2, right? So without further ado, let's start with, you know, and I was gonna say in no particular order, that's a lie. The order, because I had to make up an order, is we're gonna go by datadex number, right? So we're gonna start with the lowest numbers, working down the list to the highest ones. So, you know, they're not in like, who is your absolute favorite, you know. It's hard to quantify that. So this is just the 5 in no particular order except their datadex number. Let's start with the ladies. And when you're talking about the ladies, our first entry here is datadex entry number 1, Skylar. People who know me are gonna probably say, like, probably saw this one coming from a mile away. First of all, she's a conventionally attractive person. You know, besides the fact that, like, she's attractive, her outfit is pretty attractive too, right? I mean, it's sort of got that, like, flirty, sexy thing going on, like, you know, revealed midriff, revealed top. So it's like, okay, sort of like sexy outfit, attractive person. Like, And again, when we're talking about physical stuff, like her hair being pink is pretty awesome. Like, I love colored hair. Both people who know me in real life, and I've talked about this on stream if you've seen any of those or any of my videos. Like, I used to have neon blue hair for a time, which I still would do, except that it's a pain in the ass to bleach my hair. I hate bleach, so that's why I don't do it anymore. But, alright, so she looks good. But beyond that, she's just like a quirky, fun person. Her personal quest at the very start, think all the way back then, was fixing the suspension of disbelief. And, at least at the time of recording this, April 2026, the world is kind of a dumpster fire. It's like, it's nice to have someone who wants to bring more whimsy into the world, right? Like, we came to this dating game in the first place being like, it's a silly concept. Date your fridge, date your toaster, date your, existential dread. And then I was, surprised and pleased that this whole, like, they're actually giving it some story, as goofy as it is. So, like, and of course, her, personality being sort of like a quirky, fun person, help being, voiced by Felicia Day helps to sell that and all that. So, hooray. So it's like, okay, she looks good, and she's got a fun, quirky personality, cool. But beyond that, as you can get, any ending with any character, love, friendship, hate with anybody. But there are 3 characters who are the paragons, they are the embodiment of the virtues. We've got Reggie for hate, Dorian for friendship, and Skylar for love. And just like I'm saying, the world's sort of a dumpster fire and needs more fun and whimsy, the world's a dumpster fire and needs more love in it, right? Like in her ending, how she's just like helping everyone find love with the day. Like, that's super awesome. Like, so she's super nice too. So yeah, there's our first entry is Data Dex number 1, Skylar. Next, we move down to number 38, Miranda. Yeah, just like I've also said before on recordings and streams and stuff, I'm a musician. Well, not professionally, but for a long, long time, more than a decade, more than 2 decades, I did music. That it's sort of like, it wasn't ever a job, but it was kind of more than a hobby. Right? I almost went to college for a music major, although I ended up switching to an English major. So, being a musician, that helps both as her object version and her realized person version. Again, conventionally attractive, except that worked better for Stefan, but yeah, whatever. It was a pun. It was funny. And as I said when I saw her human version, like I like that they kept it a little, but like I love the hair so much with like the heating toaster coils, like as part of it. So I don't know, like, and again, like she's a little, I don't know, sassy, I guess you might say. Yeah, a little bit full of herself, but not to the extent, like Lux is, right? So, like, it's not that much of a detriment, and it kind of, adds to the charm. And, like, come on, if you're going to be a professional musician, like, you kind of have to be full of yourself a little if you're going to go up on stage and present, right? Like, here I am recording, and sure, I might not be a big famous streamer, but if anyone out there who has streamed or recorded knows, you have to be a little bit full of yourself to be like, I'm gonna record things and put it out there for you to watch because you want to watch me, right? So, like, it's okay that she's a little bit like that. It just, adds to the charm. So, yeah. Again, like, music, great. Being a little sassy, kind of fun. Attractive person, all right. Moving on to number 85, Bo. Yeah, let's first talk about the actual, before I've been like, Skylar, conventionally attractive, Miranda, conventionally attractive. Let's first talk about personality. Bo, again, somewhat like Skylar, is, again, filling the world with more whimsy and fun and adventure. Both seeking adventure, like sort of like her object version, but then finding adventure, like her human version. Which, again, the world needs more of that. It's not just like, I'm gonna sit here and mope because everything's terrible. It's like, there's adventure out there and I'm gonna go find it. So that's kind of fun. And I like that unlike, I mean, and again, it's a dating game, so of course everyone's like, wants to date you in some capacity, right? Because that's the point of the game. But it's interesting the way that hers sort of progresses, that it's more about her quest and her story, and it's just sort of along the way. At the end, you're just like, oh, by the way, I like you. And she's like, oh, yeah, I kind of like you too. Did I not make that obvious? Did I make that? You know, it's not just straight up like a, hey, you want a date? It's just like, let's go out on an adventure together, and like, it builds up the relation as you're doing the quest, which is, you know, well, I mean, I'm not going to say for everyone, but that's how a lot of relationships start. Not necessarily like, you know, a quest to like save the world from whatever, but, you know, from your evil twin. But, like, you go and do stuff with people, and then your rapport builds up over time, rather than just straight up being like, let's go on a date and see if we work. So that's very interesting. Physically speaking, I'm also sort of fan, like, okay, I mean, you know, her object version is, like, you know, her Indiana Jones box outfit. Like, it's, you know, it's funny and, you know, amusing. You know, it's kind of cute, and they're like, it's like in a box Indiana, right. But she's sort of got that, like, it's sort of a cliche way of saying it, but kind of like, you know, the girl next door, sort of like, you know, it's not like Lucinda, who's just like, extravagant outfit with my boobs hanging out, right? Like, it's not specifically like a sexy outfit, though. Even like Skylar and Miranda were. You know, it's Indiana. It's not that sexy, but at the same time, she's cute, right? And then her human version comes along. And now I made a lot of jokes, you know, when we were talking, like, with Dasha and Shelly and Titus being like, give me uppies, right? The thing is, I'm not super actually attracted to, like, a super muscular form. This is not just true about like women and men, or, you know, like, just the big bodybuilder just, like, ripped with muscles everywhere doesn't do anything for me on anyone. I mean, like, if that's what you want to do watching, you know, good for you. I'm not, like, criticizing your life choices. I'm just saying it doesn't do anything for me. A little bit of muscle, on the other hand, just showing, you know, and especially in women, the way that's usually shown in a game is having abs, because, like, you know, oftentimes, like, people are like, oh, look at this person in a bikini, and oh, she's kind of strong, right? So, like, when she went to a human form and she has her jacket off, and, like, she's got some arm muscles, and I'm like, all right. You know, and it's not a thing you see very often, where, again, like, either people are going to be, like, super strong, like, you know, Dasha, Shelly, if you're going for, like, strong woman type of thing. Or they'll go, like, with abs, because then you can, like, show someone in a bikini and be like, look, they're kind of strong. Here's abs. Look at the... You know, you don't often see, like, just kind of strong arms as a thing. Like, the only one off the top of my head, I'm sure there are others, but the one on the top of my head I can think of is in Metal Gear Solid 4. The spoiler, I'll try and avoid spoilers, but at the end of the game, minor spoilers, we'll say, when you see Meryl out of her like, body armor, like her soldier stuff, I won't say any more about why, but, and, like, she's got some big arms, which makes sense, because, you know, she's a, like, soldier running around with big guns and, like, you know, fighting robots and stuff, so, like, it makes sense. So, like, you know, Bo having just this kind of, like, yeah, no, that's doing it for me. Like, you know, and good job on the devs that, like, not, yeah, I don't know. Basically, good job on the devs for everything I just said that I don't need to repeat. Alright, moving on from Bo, we're gonna go to number 94, Textbox-chan. Again, let's start what I've been saying for basically everyone so far. First of all, a conventionally attractive person. And basically, she's kind of like Skylar. Very similar. I mean, obviously not in personality, but for the reason she's on this list. So for the conventionally attractive person, there she is. Again, sort of like a sexy, flirty outfit. Again, with the bare midriff, she's got like the little bit of leg showing at the top of the, like between the skirt and the thigh high. So it's like, ooh, kind of flirty. I got people... say a couple people watching this who know me in real life might make a joke about midriff enjoyers right now, which everybody else in the world is like, I don't understand how that's a joke. Don't worry about it. That was just a special joke for you. But okay. And, you know, it's a conventionally attractive, fun, kind of sexy, cute outfit. And again, just like Skylar, sort of a, you know, a fun, quirky personality. Again, it's not like Skylar's, but it's the same, that it's You know, like when you're talking to her the first time and she's like, hello, hello, and yeah, using the emojis that she's like then voices, but they're like boing, boing, boing. And again, the world needs more of that, like, fun, whimsy type of stuff into it. Yeah, I'd say, and the way she differs from Skylar, that I also appreciate, though, is how she is very driven on a subject that not a lot of people might be interested in, but is very important. Like, because I don't know, like, some people are like, oh, I want to, like, save all the puppies. I don't know, like Mateo, right? Like, I want to rescue animals. Like, of course you're going to be like, that's a very, like, good, noble thing. And, it, you know, if someone like Jacques is like, I want to be a self-absorbed jackass, you're like, that's not a very good thing. So then you've got someone like Textbox Chen who's, like, very all about, I want the world to understand about better font choices in, I mean, you know, in this case, video games, but just in general. Which is not a thing, you know, no one thinks about that like, ah, yes, the noble quest to fix the fonts of the games out there, right? But it is important. And again, the sort of, just like Miranda being, you know, part, you know, being a musician and like I've done a lot of music in my life, that kind of resonates. Like me being an English major and technical writer, stuff like font choice, like it does matter, like both for accessibility, for like ease of reading, just... So I don't know, like, I enjoy that she's both fun and quirky like Skylar, but is also very driven and focused for something that a lot of people might find boring. But I kind of find it endearing that this is very, like, important to her. So I don't know, there's not much more to say about it, really, but it's like, okay. She's, like, friendly, quirky, cute, sexy outfit, and she's, like, driven for a thing that that both I agree is important, but just in general just shows that, like, someone being driven about their own passion and wanting to make the world, you know, better for it, even if it's in an unrecognized sort of way. Good job. Finally, number 5, we will go down to, you know, and here we're at, I forget if I said 94, so you're like, okay, we're running out of people. Who could be next on our list? Well, that would be... number 99, Nightmare. And it's sort of interesting that she's on this list and has been on this list, because I've been thinking about this list for a while, thinking like, this is how I want to end the series. And, you know, spoiler alert, like, you know, again, these are organized by, like, Datadex entries, and it's not sort of like, oh, who's number 1, who's number 2. I can tell you, though, sort of as a spoiler, that basically Skylar and Textbox Chan are number 1. Nightmare comes in at number 2, if those two are sharing number 1. And it's sort of an odd thing, because as much as I made the joke about, like, hey, here's for all you monster fuckers out there, yeah, right? It's the reason I've been also saying, like, Skylar, a conventionally attractive person. Miranda, Textbook, conventionally attractive. I don't find Nightmare conventionally attractive. I don't find Nightmare that attractive at all in her look. I mean, like, okay, sure, her human form having, like, tight leather pants, like, okay, I mean, sure, a little bit, like, having, like, all the eyes and, like, the mouth and stuff, like, that does nothing for me. And so... that's one reason why I've been putting like, yes, here's this very attractive person. Because I don't think she's very attractive physically. So like, okay, and yet she's she's number 3, number 2, if you count the other 2 are tied on your list. And at first it's like, there's one reason why. And I thought about like, well, there's 2 reasons why. And then I thought about some more, I'm like, well, there's 3 reasons why. So going up that list of like, well, okay, there's also. At the bottom we have, it's just like Textbox Chan is sort of driven, like, I appreciate her drivenness in her goal. Again, like, Nightmare being the embodiment of fear, one might think that someone like me with an anxiety disorder would very much dislike, and overall that might be true. Like, again, like, I have talked about how much I hate playing horror games, or at least jump scare type things. Like, I can play psychological horror, like Eternal Darkness. But... you know, doing jump scare stuff, I'm just like, I hate this now. You know, and you know, fear has been a big part of my life for like 20 years now. And I don't like it. But I find it very interesting the way she is represented, right? She's not just Like, haha, I'm fear and I'm gonna scare you, boo! I mean, like, she kind of starts like that, right? But that there's a purpose behind it, because, yeah, if you think back to, it's not the first thing with, like, the teeth falling out while you're giving a presentation. But when she's like, I'll give you something truly fearful, like, not just the standard nightmare, like, tell me what you're most afraid of. And you had 3 options, you know, we went with mediocrity. And so you had your dream about being dead, but seeing, like, experiencing everything around you, and you're, like, buried and no one was there for you, and you're like, who's this? And like, I don't know. But that the whole point of the dream was for you to get over it, in a way. And, you know, because her point of the whole thing was, like, it doesn't matter because you live right now, and, like, no one else is you, and that's beautiful that you're here. You don't need to feel ashamed because, like, you are here and that is enough. And, you know, and then she gets into the whole thing is, like, the whole reason she does nightmares is so people, like, learn from it and, like, overcome their fear. Almost like, you know, it's like her whole shtick is like, haha, you're afraid now. But at the same time, for, like, the messages is, like, she wants you to get over being afraid. And then, you know, of course, scare you with other, you know, teeth falling out dreams or whatever. But so that's sort of interesting, right? That it's not just like, haha, I'm the spooky one, but it's like, I'm the spooky one who wants you to be less afraid of things, even though that goes counter to what she is about. So that's kind of interesting. Moving up, there's been a few moments in this game where I just sort of pause and I'm like, well, you know, it just hits a part of me, like a physical part in my brain somewhere. And when she came back, after you did your you know, she did your streams and you said something like, I don't know, like, oh, I think you confessed, you're like, I like you, Nightmare, or something like that, or let's talk about us, and then she leaves at first. And when she comes back, and she's, you know, in her, you know, she's scary, spooky, black, you know, nightmarish form, and she's blushing, looking to the side, and is just like, hey. That was so endearing and cute that, like, my primitive monkey brain is just like, she is adorable. I have to protect her. She is the... It was just, you know, there's not been a lot of moments like that. That's one of them. I will actually talk about when we get to it. The masculine character is another one. So don't think that I'm underrepresenting here. You know, everyone gets a bit of that sort of stuff. And going along with that, so like, okay, so she was blushing and said hey in sort of a, like, embarrassed, cutesy sort of way, and that made her, like, that endeared her to you. Yes. Because of number one reason why she's on the list, and why she has been for a very long time. The way she speaks. I could listen to Erica Luttrell all day. Like, it's like, you know, it's like ASMR with nightmare time. Like, I'm gonna just sit on, like, the side of your bed and read you horrifying things. Like, your teeth are falling out. You look around, everyone hates you. The ceiling is dripping with goo, and I'm just lying there like, yeah, okay. That's great. So, like, I guess I don't really know at least not off the top of my head, what else Erica Luttrell has done, or Luttrell, like, I don't know how to pronounce her name, so sorry if I'm saying that wrong. But at least this version of her voicing this character, it does something. It does something in my mind where it makes the happy chemicals, and I'm like, I could just listen to this voice all day. You know, I made the joke earlier about a different character, but, like, I could listen to her read the dictionary and I would be perfectly happy. Aardvark, a mammal found in blah 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 blah. Apple, a fruit grown into the thing. Red color, blah blah. And I would soak that in forever. So that's why she's on this. Again, someone doesn't need to be conventionally attractive for you to be attracted to them, right? Hey, that's how I got a wife. Someone's attracted to me somehow. No, I don't say that, though, because like Miranda, I'm kind of full of myself. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I might not be, like, Times Man of the Year, but have you seen this beard? Okay. So anyways, I'm getting off track now. Before we switch to the next one, I do have two special mentions. They didn't make the cut of the top 5, but I wanted to point out things about them. So the first part of that is River, and specifically her human form. Because as I'm like sort of, I'm like looking at people, I'm like, oh, that's a good human look. Oh, that's kind of goofy. Oh, I like the way they did this, blah, 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 blah. I can say without a doubt, there is no competition that River is my favorite human design. Right? Like, yeah, I might find, like Skylar, Textbox, Chan, a little more attractive or whatever. And like, and again, like, I'm not talking about her story and stuff, because again, like, I'd be like, it's perfectly fine that like her story was her trying to find herself, but it, didn't pull me in the same way. But I can say without any shadow of a doubt, her design is my favorite by far of any of the humans. And I looked this up, so I have a little note about this. Her design, well, okay, I can't say for sure that this particular design is this, but at least in the, what's the word I'm looking for? The concept art, there's a note that her design, at least in the concept art, and again, if someone says like, oh, this is wrong, this is actually like, I 100% would be like, okay, I'm wrong about this. But in the concept art, it said her design is based off of 2 things. 1, designs of the Ojibwe. 2, designs after a fashion designer named Catherine Blackburn, who is a member of the English River First Nation, also known as the, and I'm gonna do my best here, the Dene-Sulene. I don't know if that's the right syllable, like Dene-Sulene. I apologize that I'm just a white guy, I'm doing my best type of thing, but like, so the Dene-Sulene, that's what Catherine Blackburn is part of. And so they sort of took both Catherine Blackburn's fashion design stuff as well as traditional Ojibwe stuff to at least make the concept art version of River. Now, again, how, is this still part Ojibwe or not? I don't know for certain. And I don't want to be like, yes, it is. No, it isn't. Oh, I did a Google search and the first image. Because then I just look like a dumbass. So either way, if you like the design too, just fun fact that that's at least what the concept was based off of. But yeah, that it is amazing. So that's the one sort of like special shout out. The second special shout out, I don't need to go super on about, but Connie, and the reason why is I mentioned this specifically during the stream, right? As opposed to like I didn't mention River's thing besides like, oh wow, I really like that. The reason why Connie gets a special shout out, I mentioned already, but we'll go over it because that's what we're doing in this video. I can say, without a doubt, hers is by far the most, like, primal sexiest outfit of the humans I fit. And I went over this again because it's a very interesting way of why having more can be, more can be better than less. Which I used the example before of like, sure, Aaron is just straight up naked. In both object form and human form. And yet at the same time, it isn't as like tantalizing and appealing, I think, as Connie. Because of the way that, things, it's sort of like you hide a little bit and show a little bit type. Yeah, and people have heard that before. It's not like it's like some brand new, like, what do you mean? Tell us about this, like, new philosophy. But just sort of like the way it's you got like the boob cut out on the leotard, a very skimpy leotard, and then sort of like doing the like thigh-high socks, but as buckle boots. It's like, okay, you want like sort of hinting at nakedness? We got that. Like, oh, are you someone who's into like the goth, like dom aesthetic? We'll put that in. Oh, are you interested in more of the like, oh, you want to be like the schoolgirl aesthetic? Well, we got like thigh highs, but they're actually Doc Martens with buckles. Like, you've got like glowing cat ears for it. And I just think it's a very well done design. Right? Like, she's got like basically a swimsuit on, a coat, really big boots, which is, a hell of a lot more than someone who has absolutely nothing, or like Tyrell who's wearing a towel. And yet at the same time, I think that she is by far the sexiest design as a human. So again, it's just like a clothing thing, just like with River. So it's like, yeah, her story is fine, like play the game, redo stuff, and yeah, like, oh, that's fine. She doesn't make the cut of the top 5, but I just want to do these 2 special shout-outs for like the best overall design, and the most, because you know it's a dating game, the most like attractive design. But we come to that part of our program where we say, well, okay, but what if I don't care about the feminine? What if I care about the masculine, the manly? Well, we can do that too. So how about we start with number 7, Dorian. Which should not be any surprise for anyone who actually watched this series, because basically everything I was saying about Nightmare and her voice, I said first about Dorian way back at early of this whole series. You know, I even made the same joke about, like, I could just listen to him read the dictionary all day. You know, it's just one of those things, like, I could listen to Ben Starr just be like, all right, B is for banana, C is for cockatiel, D is for Dorian, the character I play, right? Like, yeah, and I said it back then, I'll say it now too, like, yeah, I might not be, like, into men the same way that I'm into women, but at least his voice is just like, yeah, I could just lie back and listen to this all day. All day. Read the diction, read a recipe, read like anything you want. I just want to hear you speak, because there's something of, you know, about the, and I can't actually do it right now because my throat's kind of hurting, but you know, that low gravel, not that I can do his. The camera's backwards. All right, his low voice, but you know, the low gravelly type of the thing, which not only can I not do, but I can't even approximate because my throat hurts too much. But yeah, something about that voice, it does it for me. And again, now we're talking about, like, okay, well, since I'm, you know, not super a big fan of the masculine, but he's got a lot going on for him. What, again, like, I could be like, yes, that is a very attractive fellow that, you know, maybe isn't quite for me, but I can be like, right, you know, first of all, he's got a nice beard. What can I say? A nice beard is a nice beard, right? And then going on beyond that, you know, he's got like the kind of the strong tattooed arms, which again, you know, going back to like what I was talking about with Bo, like, I don't want necessarily someone like Kristoff who's like, oh, I am big, manly, violent, rah, rah, rah. Like, that might not do anything for me, but a guy in a nice suit showing a bit of strong arms, okay. All right, I can get on board with that. It might not be my first cup of tea, but I'm not gonna say no. So there we go. Dorian, number first. Again, surprising no one, because I already talked about how just Ben Starr is just like liquid velvet in my ear, and I'm just, yeah, ASMR with Ben Starr and Erica Luttrell, and I'd just be like, I'm gonna just do this forever. I'm not streaming any other game. This is gonna be 4 hours every day. To say one in one ear, one in the other, that would actually be very weird. Never mind. I started having thoughts, and I'm like, should I try to actually, like, edit stuff? And then, I'm feeling lazy. Too much effort. You can do that on your own if you want. Let's move on to what might be the biggest upset of this whole 552 list. The one that a lot of them are like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Oh, yeah, you mentioned that sort of thing before. If there was anyone that no one saw coming, it is the next one. Number 16, Timothy. Now, yes, to be fair, I did say that his object design is one of my favorite objects. You know, just sort of like the way River is like, okay, that's like clearly my favorite human design of all of them. Like, I think I can say, I can say definitively, maybe, that at least of the masculine designs, Timothy is my favorite. You know, it's saying like a clockwork cat boy. Now again, he isn't clockwork, but like his vest with the, I mean, but not just the clock, but like the gears and like pipe wire adjacent type design. Again, and a nice suit, which I was talking about during everyone's sort of human thing. Being, I like a nice dark suit with like light highlighting. So like, sure, a black suit, red bow tie with like some white glove. Again, that's just a thing I like in general on anybody, you know, man, woman, whatever. The gold being, you know, again, like the clockwork aesthetic, even if he isn't actually clockwork. Okay. So yes, to be fair, I did say all that before, and I was like, okay, I like that. But to be fair, I also, like, he was the first character we encountered where I'm like, huh, I don't know that I like that guy. Like, I think, you know, I made the joke and I was saying it's not a, don't do this in real life. This is not appropriate in real life, but I did the, like, just shut up and sit there and be pretty, pat on your head thing. So again, it's like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll look at his design, but he... Now that said, there are two reasons, actually, that he makes this list, though, besides the fact that I kind of like design. First of all, his human form. You know, a lot of these people I'm not really talking about, like, the difference between their object and their human form, because it's basically the same. Like, you know, like, Skylar, okay, like, the, sort of the paragon of love, continues being the paragon of love. Miranda, she's a musician, stays a musician. Textbox Chan, like, wants to, you know, thinks it's important to tell people about, like, correct font choices and stuff, continues to, etc. You know, Dorian is, you know, he's a bouncer, but... Timothy, yes, he is kind of a stuck-up... I don't want to say stuck-up asshole. Okay, he's the first person I thought was a stuck-up asshole in the game. Later, I was proven wrong when we're getting, you know, characters like Lux or Harper, or, like there's some actually nasty people in the game. And he's not one of them, but he is the first character where I'm just like, that grates on, like, his punctuality, like, emphasis on being perfectly on time. Like, yeah, you don't want to disrespect other people's times. Like, it's rude if someone's like, hey, you want to meet for, you know, lunch? And you're like, sure, and then you're like an hour late. Yeah, like, that's rude. But, like, his, like, let's plan every minute of every day and we'll write down what we're doing to the second, huzzah! And I'm like, no! But as a human, he mellows out so much. Like, yeah, again, it talks about how he's, like, you know, punctual. And, you know, he quits a lot of jobs because, like, his coworkers aren't on time. But he isn't the, like, let's plan every minute of every day. Like, he becomes a conductor that just helps the trains run on time. Like, he takes sort of what was a bad thing and turns it into a good thing. It's like, you know, applauds for that. Now, here's the fun part. The fun part where I get to reveal a little something about me that I discovered along the way, because, okay, that's enough that I could move on to the next person if I wanted to. But I'm not, because I'm an honest guy and I love you, the viewers, so much, especially you're here on video 50 of this series, that I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. It's not just that he has a cool design as an object. It's not just that he mellowed out as a human. The thing is, there is one specific sprite of his that when I saw, and I have it right here, just a moment, when I saw this the first time, you know, there's just some part of my brain, you know, I'm like, okay, I mean, yeah, like clearly I'm not, like, a super, like, I don't even know how to say it. Like, I'm comfortable in my sexuality. I'm playing this game, like, yeah, sure, let's date a lady, let's date a man, let's fuck everybody, hooray for us. Like, but, you know, if I'm like, okay, me as a person playing this, I like ladies. That's who I am. That's fine. If you don't, that's fine too. Yeah, I'm not here to judge. Yeah, maybe you don't like anyone, that's fine. Maybe you like everything's cool, everything's fine, but, you know, I know who I am. And then I see this, and there's some little part of my brain that's like, okay, yeah, you're interested in women, but, you know, and it's not really anything more than that specifically, but the first time I saw this cat boy doing this pose, my brain, there's some little part of it activated, said, okay, but hear me out. Here's the thing. So I learned a little bit about, I mean, actually, not really. I'm sure I already knew that. I've had conversations about sexuality with people, like, for, you know, decade college recently. Like, it's not actually anything real, but it was very surprising that I, you know, had this sort of same reaction that I've had with some of the lady characters when I see that. I'm like, oh, okay, that's a nice sprite. You know, like Dorian, right? He's fine, like, okay, I can say, like, that's a handsome fella. Yep. Like, I can understand it's a handsome stuff. Oh, yes, I like his beard. Oh, yeah, oh, nice tattoos on his arm. But there's something when I saw this and I just kind of stopped and went, oh, hi. So, you know, like, he's got to make the list for that, right? Like, if he pauses you for a sec, you know, your brain for a second to say, but hold on, just let hear me out. So, Timothy also makes the, and so I was also very glad that I can actually also include him on the list for being good as a person, because it kind of, like, how shallow would it be to be like, I like your, you know, I like your design as an object, and also I like the way that you're posing in that. And then, like, that's all I like about you, would be feel like, oh, I kind of feel like a bad person. So I'm glad that he became, like, an actual good person. Or, you know, like, he mellowed out and be like, you know, good character progression. Anyway, moving on. Number 35, Freddy. Probably not a big surprise. Again, like, I think a lot of people, like Freddy's just, again, like, is as stupid as the pun is, I have to say it, he's a cool guy. You know, again, this is one of the things where I'm like, you know, whereas I'm like Dorian, yeah, okay, he's kind of, you know, attractive, you know, for a guy, he's attractive. And Timothy, I'm like, he's kind of attractive for a guy, and part of my brain saying, for a guy? Are you sure you don't want to just say he's kind of attractive? Freddy is not all that attractive. Again, like, you know, cool design. I'm not, you know, knocking the design. Like, as a Fred, you know, actually, I'll get to that in a second, but his human stuff, but human stuff. But again, like, it doesn't, you know, it's just like Nightmare, like, you know, sorry, as much as I'm like, yeah, like, you monster fuckers, it doesn't really do much for me, but his personality just makes up for it so much. And his music, his theme song is just so good, one of the best. So he's got cool music, and he's just, like, a cool guy that wants to, like, support you and hang out with you and try and make you, like, feel better. And, like, okay, yeah, he's not perfect because he has his, like, little angry streak that when he busts out at the end, but then he feels bad about it and, like, regrets it and feels guilty and apologizes, which kind of makes him a more interesting character than if he's just like, I'm the perfect cool dude the whole time, and I'm always friendly and always nice, and I'm always here for you. Like, the fact that he's like, he's more relatable, right? Like, I'm the cool guy, and I'm here for you, and I want to make things better, and I'm good, but, like, when you push him further and further and too far, and he, like, snaps and yells at you, like, that's how we are as people, right? Like, you know, maybe Mr. Rogers aside, you know, everyone has some anger in them somewhere. So yeah, he's just, you know, I like that he's super friendly, and, you know, in a way it's like, I don't know, comparing him to, say, Koa, who's also, you know, again, very laid back and very like, I just want to chill with you, but at the same time, unlike Koa, who's just kind of like, let's hang out together, and then you know, hang out, and he gives you a gift, and you're like, oh, that's very nice. It's like, Freddy is going out of his way when you go to talk to him to, like, try and make, like, it's not just about him hanging out, but it's like, oh, I've got these leftovers, well, like, will this help? Like, you know, I've got this if you want it. Like, yo, you want that chocolate bar? It's our secret, I won't tell anyone. Like, you know, he's offering stuff to help you, not just to help him. You know, it's not just like, let's hang out, and I like resting, and you like resting, so that's nice. You know, it's, I'm helping you specifically, so that's cool. Now, what I was going to say about his human form is, the one thing that I also like about it, even if, like, I'm not like, okay, like, I mean, it's a cool design, but nothing doing it for me, but it almost feels like a better version of the Beast from Beauty and the Beast. I mean, not that the Beast is bad, right? Everyone who watched the original animated Beauty and the Beast already knows, like, the Beast looks way better than his human form. Like, I've not talked to a single person on this planet ever who's just like, Yeah, I prefer him in his human form at the end of the movie that we're talking about. Again, the animated one, not the live-action remake. Like, everybody is just like, yeah, the Beast is cooler as the Beast. And he just kind of looks like a cooler Beast. And again, that's probably just because he's got, like, this nice, like, maroon burgundy, just, like, royal, velvety-looking cape draped across his shoulders and, you know, hairy, sharp teeth, look, you know, Beastish-like. But, like, I don't know, he's just like, if the Beast wasn't, you know, like a French noble and it was instead, you know, someone in 2026, that could actually be what he looks like. Like, after he's chilled out and doesn't have his anger problems anymore, there you go. So I think that's kind of, like, a fun touch, that I get that vibe, which is a good thing. Anyways, moving on from Freddy, we have number 60, Chance. Having kind of this fifth spot was sort of hard for a while. Like, again, like, I knew Dorian from the start because I was talking about, you know, his voice just, like, when I say his voice is like liquid velvet pouring in my ears, of course you know he's going on the list. Now that you know my reaction to Timothy, and I mean, even what I was saying about his design, of course you know he's going on the list. The next one, you'll also be like, yep, I've heard you talk good things about him, so of course he's on the list. Freddy, all right, like, you know, cool dude hanging out and stuff, like, he's going on the list, like, but I was wondering, like, okay, well, who do I want for, like, who kind of is a fifth person for this? And it helped, as again, I had sort of was thinking about this earlier in the series, just, like, along the way, I'm like, oh, yeah, you know, even before I met all the characters, so, like, meeting new characters, like, oh, okay, this person's cool, but, you know. And Chance is definitely one where his human evolution helped him out a lot. Because, like, as a character, he's absolutely fine. Like, having the long D&D session was super fun. You know, he's just a super nice guy. And, you know, very similar to some people, like, you know, that I'd hang out with in real life. Like, I've played tabletop stuff with people, but, you know, in high school, in college, you know, as an middle-aged adult. It's like, yeah, having a D&D person is really cool, but, like, that alone isn't enough to be like, yep, he's on the list. Because, like, there's a lot of cool people that would be fun to hang out with. And so, like, the fact that he took what he was doing and used it sort of to help people, like, again, like, he's like, I'm gonna keep doing D&D, but I'm going to do it as therapy for, you know, people who need to, like, come out of their shells and stuff as a human. It was super interesting, and I'm like, that's, like, first of all, I wonder if there's stuff like that going on in real life, because it seems like it'd probably be useful for some people, and just, like, again, like, taking, I don't know, it's sort of, I guess, a masculine version of Text Box Chan being very focused on something that she likes as an object, because that's what she represents, and then keeping that up as a human, like, again, he likes games, but it's not, you know, not to the extent of Parker, but, like, he likes role-playing and having fun and doing all that stuff, and then he uses that to, like, help people and make the world a better place. Again, see Skylar and her stuff about, like, hey, the world's a dumpster fire, so, like, making it a better place, kudos to you. So there's that. I mean, and the thing is, also and so I was like, okay, yeah, maybe he'll go on the list. And so, like, as I was making these, you know, images to put in there, I realized that, like, I kind of like his design, and I like that his design gets goofier as a human. Again, like, okay, conventionally attractive dude, like, he's, you know, he's a handsome-looking chap, sure. You know, in the same way that, like, I'd probably put him below Dorian, like, if I had to list, like, you know, Dorian's a guy, but, like, yeah, alright, that's a handsome chap. And then Chance is like yeah, okay, I could, you know, see how people are into that, you know, so he's fine. But I just love that he goes from, like, kind of just, like, I mean, yeah, it's, like, you know, sort of papery, and, like, the pants are getting goofy design, but, like, it goes from, like, kind of a normal look, if a bit abstract, to, like, magic wizard. Like, he's got his druid robes as a real person, and, like, I just enjoy that he gets more fantastical. I'm trying to think if anyone else has that, and I don't know if they do it. Some people stay fan, like Titus. She looks you know, she's like the Greek heroine, and she stays like that, you know, like she stays like the toga wielding, whatever. I'm just trying to think if there's anyone who like looks kind of normal and then goes to less normal. And I don't know if there is, and I just appreciate it. I think it's funny. I think it's nice. Yeah. That's really all there's to say to that. So, moving on then to our final masculine character, we have our 5th person, number 81, Dunk. And just like I said, you'd probably realize that because I've already talked very highly about him. So if you thought about it, you're like, oh yeah, he did. Okay, that makes sense. Again, let's talk about the physical thing in the same way that, you know, coming in at number 5, Nightmare is like, well, I'm talking about all these people are very conventionally attractive. And Nightmare, you know, as her look wasn't to me. I'm waving this flashlight around. Sorry, this isn't important to the thing. I'm just fiddling with it. Yeah, there, let me point it. It doesn't work because that's a screen. You can't see where I'm pointing the light. Anyway, Dunk is, you know, I think his look is kind of stupid and goofy. Like, I mean, not stupid bad, but stupid goofy. But he's just so damn nice and wholesome. And, like, I did not expect, right, like the sports guy was gonna bring that to the table. You know, I was expecting something more along the lines of Kristoff. You know, the way Kristoff is like, yeah, exercise, woo, woo. You know, I thought he'd be like, yeah, sports. Yeah, throw the football. Yeah, swing the baseball bat. Yeah. And he just isn't at all in the slightest. Like, so long as you're willing to be like, yeah, I'll try that. Like, he helps you with all the stuff you're trying along the way. And, like, he doesn't pressure you to keep it up. He does, like, and he's just like, oh, like, there's the one that was the, like, balancing on the ball, and, like, he's holding you steady. And, you know, it talks about how he's, like, doing it on, like, 1 foot or whatever, and, like, backflips off or whatever it is he does. That shows he's, like, super athletic and just way beyond anything that you're capable of. And just, he doesn't judge you for it or anything, and he's just like, I'm here to help you. And then, of course, you know, that continues on as a human, where he's just, like, he dominates every sport he plays. And what does he do? Does he become, like, the MVP of all the sports? No. He goes to teach kids because, like, it's about having fun and, like, getting kids interested in it. And it's not about, like, you know, it's not like Stepford being like, I'm the best and I want to prove I'm the best. It's, you know, it's for the love of the game. But in this sense, I mean, the game as in sports games. He's so wholesome and nice. Which is what I said before when we were playing with him, and I said, like, oh my goodness, I didn't expect this from Dunk, but he's so wholesome and nice, and he is just so wholesome and nice. Like, I would say that he's sort of the masculine equivalent of Skylar, almost. Not of, like, of course, the way they're doing stuff is different, but, like, just that Skylar is just all about, like, positive, good energy and vibes and bringing love and happiness and all, like, that stuff, because... And Dunk, despite being the paragon of sports, kind of does the same thing, where he's just like, I want to bring good vibes into the world. Like, I don't need to bring more sports into the world. I don't need to bring people, it doesn't, like, I mean, yeah, he has this little bit like, yes, I want people to like sports and I want you to try them. But, like, his whole thing is just like, are you having fun? Are you happy? Are you, like, getting some exercise? And it doesn't have to be, like, super tough the way Kristoff wants. It's just... So yeah, he's just such a nice dude that, like, even though it's like, yeah, his look is kind of stupid, goofy, like, even as a human, you know, well, I'll talk about the one thing again I like about his human design in a second, though, like, but, like, yeah, he's still kind of got that, like, derpy, like, type of look, and, like, I don't know, like, the snap pants, and, like, almost like it's like a football goalpost design on a mesh shirt to be like a net. That's like, it's kind of a stupid design, and the thing is, I just don't care at all. He's so nice and wonderful. But I will say, the one thing I do like about his human form, and I did think I mentioned this for him too when we were doing the actual stream, is that I like the way, and again, this is less about him and more of just why I like Sassy Chaplin. I want to see them do more stuff. That the way they designed him to be a strong man is like kind of like the actual quote-unquote strength. You know, it's not bodybuilder strength. Because again, as his object form, he kind of has that sort of like, I am a sculpted god, I'm posing, let me, flexing, type of look. And again, not as much as, you know, some other, you know, other characters, but like, he's sort of got that, what you'd call like, you know, the chiseled statue look. And as a human, he's still strong, but it's not as the chiseled statue, but it's more of like, as I said, the strong man. Because if you see like strong men competition, not the guys who are posing with like big muscles, like the guys who are like pulling like trucks and big like, you know, trees and like logs and stuff. Because like you gotta have like a massive core to do that, like to support everything. And so he's, and I like that design, right? That it's not just like, here's handsome guy who looks handsome and, you know, is like ripped and jacked, and it's like, he's ripped, but he looks like an actual person who is really strong and ripped would. Like, it's not just chiseled muscles, but he's got, you know, like chiseled muscles, and he's got the fat where it's supposed to be, and it's just a very good design, you know. So, hooray, sassy chap, but, you know, an extension, hooray, dunk. Alright, that does it for our masculine characters, but we still have... Oh, wait, no, it doesn't. I lied. Just like I had a shout-out for, here I'm ready to move on, and I got someone saying, hey, what about me? You know, just like I had, you know, saying River and stuff like my favorite human design overall. I do have one more shout-out to say for the men, which is... Kelly. Again, kind of like, for different reasons, don't get me wrong, but different reasons, but kind of like Timothy being like, I'm kind of surprised he's on this list, because his quest was fine. Like, he was a TV who wanted you to watch TV, whatever, you know, it's standard for just like all the other, you know, characters who are like, I'm the, you know, Keys being like, I'm the piano who wants to do music, I'm, you know, the record player who wants to play his story was fine, and the fact that he just continues as, you know, whatever. And I talked about how much I just, like, hated his object design. Like, I mean, not that it was a bad design, but just, like, something about it just, like, I don't want to say uncanny valley, but his object design, I was just like, bleh. I don't like that. Telly's human design, though, again, is one of my favorites. Yeah, not, you know, it's not gonna surpass River, but it's really good. I really like that outfit. And again, like, you know, his story is whatever. Like, I don't have any, you know, he's not, like, enough to be on the list of 5, but I just need a special shout out to say, just like the way River, I'm like, this is the, you know, the absolute best human design overall. Telly, I have to say, is one of the best designed humans overall. Just, I don't even know that I can explain it, really. Like, I could say, like, oh, yeah, it's like, I like dark suit with highlight, what I kind of said, you know, like, how the jacket works. Like, yeah, he's got, like, you know, besides having dark skin, he's got, like, the dark top, the dark bottom, and then so it's, like, the bright white. But even if you're going that, it's like, well, okay, but there's, like, the boots, that has color, his glasses have... I don't know, I just think it's a very cool design. Like, if I saw this dude walking down the street, like, that's a type of person I'd be like, damn, that guy looks really cool. Like, I couldn't pull this off. Like, if I tried to wear... backwards again. If I tried to wear this, I would look like a jackass. But he does do it. And it's just, like, you know, that's the type of thing where I'd be like, if I take your picture because I want to show my friends just how cool you look. So I just wanted to give the special shout out for Telly, who, despite as an object, I'm just like, oh, I don't like looking at you. I don't like the way your hair goes into a giant rectangle, like. And then as a human, I'm like, that is one of the best designs. One of my favorite designs, I should say. You know, like, there is no best. It's whatever you like, but one of my personal favorite designs. Okay, and now I've finished with the masculine characters. So Telly, you get your time to shine. Let's go for our final 2 to talk about. First up is number 56, Mac. First of all, I love their design. Again, you know, if you were listening to me talk about people's, like, suits and stuff, you're like, okay, like, black with bright colors. Again, it's sort of like, me as like, a person in like the cyber age loves like the sleek black look, and me as a kid from like the 90s is like, hooray, primary colors. And so like you combine the two and you get Mac, I just love the design, that like neon sleek against the, it's so good. It's so good. But it's not just because I think they look really cool that why they're on this list. There are two sort of story bits about them that I very much enjoy, and also for very different reasons. The first, again, it's more of a, like, again, was like, hooray, sassy chap for handling this super well. But, it comes out in Mac, and so hooray for that. Is that I like the fact that Mac's wheelchair use is never brought up. Ever. Because I feel that it's sort of one of the best types of representation. And, I'm saying this as, someone who is not handicapped. I mean, if you want to count an anxiety disorder as like a mental handicap, right? Like, I can walk fine. I don't need a wheelchair or anything like that. So, grain of salt that I'm saying this as someone who doesn't, but I just feel like, I mean, and you can think about this not just handicap, but for any type of representation, right? Like, there's good representation and then stupid representation, the performative representation, like, in the case of, like, for a wheelchair user, right? Like, yes, it's good if they include someone who uses a wheelchair, just because, like, people who use wheelchairs don't see enough of that, and presumably want to, like, see more representation of themselves, like, in, games and movies, books, TV shows, whatever. But, there's, and I don't want to get into any specifics about any type of, whether it's, a wheelchair use or a sexuality or whatever, but those types of things, right? Where it's like, I'm in a wheelchair and that's okay. I'm in a wheelchair and that makes me great. Or even something to the thing that's like, oh no, we can't run across the conveyor belt with our feet in time. It hurts too much. Like, well, luckily I've got my wheelchair to save the day. Like, and it ends up feeling more like an after-school special type of representation, very performative. Again, hopefully if you're watching this, you're old enough to know what after-school specials were. And, okay, yes, it's good that there's some representation at all, but it's also stupid, right? Like you're like, I'm a wheelchair user and that makes me great. And then, like, look at the screen and smile. And I think it's just such a better show that it's never brought up, even once. It's like, yes, they use a wheelchair, and they're, like, that has nothing to do with who they are as a person. Like, Mac is, computer, they do computer, and then, yes, as a human, they continue that sort of, like, line of thinking, they start working, like, with crypto blockchains and stuff, and it has nothing to do with who they are as a person. It's just something about them. And that just kind of seems like better representation for people who are like, because, like, and I guess I'll talk about this as a personal thing. I don't want to talk too much about other people's stuff. But, like, as somebody with anxiety, like, I can say, like, that's a good representation of anxiety. That's, a bad representation. That's not how it works. Or, in a lot of cases. And, like, I don't want someone who's just like, I have anxiety and that's okay. Like, if I want someone to be a, like, representative of anxiety, just make them be a person with anxiety who interacts with the story in a way they would, and it's just not specifically brought up. So I think that's great, like, and, like, to the point that, they don't even offer it as a choice. That, like, when Mac first upgrades their operating system, you can't be like, oh, I thought you'd be able to walk now. It's like, like, that's not a thing. Like, it's Max, the fact that they're a wheelchair user, they're perfect as they are, but you don't have to say that out loud. They just are, and it has to do with their processing, because that's what the upgrade is for. And then as a human, they keep it, which, again, I know the person that voices Mac, I guess I don't know if they're a wheelchair user specifically, but I know they are sort of like a champion of actors and actresses, like, with disabilities type of stuff, and I think they use a wheelchair, but maybe it's something else. I if I'm wrong, I apologize. I just know that. So of course they're not going to be like, and now you're a human. You can, like, you don't need your chair, because like that'd be a slap in the face to the person voicing them. But you know, the fact that you can't even mention it is great. So on the one hand, like, yes, I think there's like this whole great story stuff. You're like, okay, but you said there were two things about Mac. Yes, the other story thing was a thing that, rather than explain it, let me just tell you what it was. So when you first upgrade Mac, and then they're like, oh boy, like, I'm upgraded, I want to date a bunch of other people now. And you're like, wait, what? Because it kind of comes on all of a sudden, out of the blue, with no prior warning. Which would be bad, and I'll get to why it isn't in a second. But like, you know, and I'm not saying that like, oh, poly people are bad, or like dating around is bad, or sleeping around, like that's fine. Like, you know, a case where it's not out of like Winifred, right? Like that comes up just sort of naturally as you're talking with her, where she's like, she talks about River, she talks about Washford, and then she tells the story about like there were the 2 people in the shower, and then there were 3, and you know, it just sort of builds up over time and comes naturally, and then you can have a conversation where you go, oh yeah, like, that's fine, it'll take more work, but there's nothing wrong with that. And, you know, that's the thing where, you know, it's building and building, and it just naturally flows there. Whereas with Mac, it doesn't come up at all, and then all of a sudden they're like, I'm gonna date other people. What do you think about that? And my first reaction was just kind of like, wait, what? Because it's out of the blue. But then I really liked the narrative disconnect where your mind just screeches to a halt and you're like, well, but that's what I'm doing. Like, how could I in good conscience say no? Like, I'm dating 101 other people. And like, I didn't bring it up with Mac, right? Like, Mac can't even be the first person you talk to. You have to talk to Skylar and Dorian first. It's I don't know, I like that where you just sort of, you screech to a halt and you're like, where did this come from? This seems like out of the blue bad writing. Like, why did you not allude to this? But in a way, then it's like, but you are doing the exact same thing. Not even similar, like, you are dating other people. And so, like, I like the fact that it makes you stop and feel, I like that it makes you think and feel uncomfortable, and you have to be like, actually, you know, I have to be okay with that, because otherwise I'm a giant hypocrite. I mean, yeah, you can be like, well, I'm the human, but, like, what does that matter? That's still, you're still a giant hypocrite if you said no, so I like that. I like that about their story. Finally, we get to the end of our list. You know, we've done our 5, we've got 2, because again, if I did 5 non-binary, it would just be, let's talk about everyone but Rebel. So, for our final, well, I say non-binary, but technically speaking, they are all genders. They're not actually non-binary. Is a fun little fact. Damon, oh, and I've been saying everyone's number, Damon, number 68, there you go. So there's this handy, actually, little list that you can find online that goes through everyone's genders, where it's like, oh yes, they use he, him, they, them, she, her, you know, some are like they, he, you know, talk about the Hanks, which of course, yeah, there's, you know, multiple of them, so they, but even as a single person, they're sometimes referred, yeah. Damon is not they, them. Damon is every gender. Because, in fact, if you recall, like, one of the first times you meet, the narrator says something akin to the line of, like, he looks at you with her mouth and they blah, 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 blah. You know, something like that. Now, Damon being a glitch bug is all genders. So Damon is actually, when I say there's 6 non-binary, it's technically, there's 5 non-binary and 1 all-encompassing. But I figure that counts as, you know, not conforming to feminine or masculine, so we're including them here. Damon's definitely a case of, this is me, the character, picking this, not me, the human. Like I was talking about earlier, like, it'd be unfair if I just did me, the human, being like, who's your top 10, because it's gonna be, you know, at this point, won't be spoilers. Like, it'll mainly be women, and then, like, maybe I would put Dorian and Dunk on there, maybe, and so it's like, if you had fair representation, we got to split this up. As the human playing this, there is in no way that I would want to be involved with Damon at all. But me, the character, they're just so interesting. And, like, they're done well as a bug that's... They're not friendly, but they're not quite malicious. Like, you know, they almost feel like the trickster god sort of role. Yeah, I don't know, because, yeah, I'm thinking, like, on the one hand, like, yeah, they'll fuck with you, like, when they keep you in a time loop over and over, but they don't actually do anything to harm you. Even, like, they could keep you in a time loop forever if they wanted, and they don't. Or, you know, like a dialogue time loop. And they're just kind of, you know, they're, you know, taking an old phrase, but, you know, they're doing it for the lulz. And that's kind of just sort of how they operate, that they're just operating on what they want because they can. And not in a selfish, like, you know, the nihilistic Doug sort of way. I don't know, so I just find them so fascinating. It's just, I don't know. I think they're great. Like, as a character, like, as a human, I'd be terrified as fuck to be, you know, anything with them. Although, to be fair, in their love ending, like, even though it's all super glitchy, you know, it has the whole thing about, like, Damon's behind you protecting you or whatever. Like, having a being out of time and space that's got your back because you said you were in love and they're just like, okay, sure, why not? It's not the worst thing to have at you know, not your beck and call, but I mean, you know what I mean, that, like, at your, as a thing you have. So, yeah, I mean, and, like, they look cool. I mean, yeah, like, I like their design. Yeah, I wouldn't say, you know, it's not like, oh, this person's conventionally attractive. Like, this person is not a person. This person is not conventionally a person. They're terrifying. You know, they're more terrifying than Nightmare is. Like, Nightmare, even though I'm not, like, into the monster fucking scene, is more conventionally attractive than Damon. I mean, Damon as a human is much more conventional, right? Like, sure, like, it's a little glitchy, but it's basically just, like, you know, an open suit jacket, pants, you know, the thing, and then you almost have, like a Borg-like visor or something, but, you know, when you're talking about the actual bug version, I don't know, it looks cool, like, and I like the way that it's, you know, just sort of like the fact they're a trickster and they're not good or evil, just like the way a bug is not good or evil, it's just fucked up in a game. Like, that they're not, you know, they're not conventionally like, I'm super hot, and they're not conventionally like, I'm super evil with, like, tentacles and claws, and, like, they're just super fucked up. And I think that's a cool design choice. So yeah, that's Date Everything. There's your bonus episode. You know, we're going through, just like Doki Doki Literature Club, the who's best girl? And the answer is, well, that depends, you know. Who's your best one in Date Everything? Well, you know, that kind of depends on what you're talking about. But I think that does a good cover of it all. So I hope you had fun with this series. I had fun. This was a great game. I was talking about it in the last episode, but I want to see Sassy Chap do more because it's amazing and they handle things super well. They got funny writing. It's a good time. And if you're watching this, you had a good time because we're 50 damn videos into the thing. So who would be watching this otherwise? So, you know, from me, from Skylar, from all our datables here, until next time, just go out into the world and make the world a lovelier place.
Everything leads to love. My country.